This guy, he comes in to my office after we select him for this opportunity, and he says, I got some things going on. I hope it's okay. And I said, what do you have going on? And he says, well, I'm up in D.C., and I'm doing a senatorial internship, and it'll conclude right at the end of me working with the Speaker of the House. And then after that, I have to leave. And so that blew my mind. Our students are engaged in so many different ways, but this guy really does form the foundation for engagement at a whole new level. And so without further ado, crew, please help me to welcome Jared Blackburn, everyone.
I don't like it. No, I love it. All out, turn the beat up. Hey, now I'm glad to meet you. Turn up, girl, blow the speaker.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be back at the University of Florida within the great Sunshine State. I know that it's hard to fathom that there are currently 7.4 billion people in the world, but just imagine, by the year 2050, there will be 9.6 billion people in the world. So with that image in your mind, please ask yourself, how are we going to educate all of these people so that they can get a job in the future? Now, if this were happening in today's age, countless students would not be able to get a job in their field of study, sadly, by no doing of their own. And to make matters worse, many of these students will have thousands of dollars of debt attached to them when leaving a beautiful campus like this one. However, even if the horizon looks gloomy, it is the responsibility of everyone here today to make sure we update this outdated system so that our future generations have a fighting chance. Now, going back to the beginning, colleges and universities were attached to religious institutions that were mainly focused on liberal arts-based curriculums. This was because college was looked at as more of a luxury for those that could only afford to progress academically, while others had to go straight into the workforce or into the armed forces. Well, over the course of generations, our college system in the world has changed, and now it is a necessity for everyone to go to college to be able to have a shot at advancing through life. And now these colleges are worried and become more of a corporate structure that is worried about making profits and continually pumping out students. So, spinning off of that, I had an honor to be included in a meeting with former Secretary of the United States Department of Education, Arne Duncan. In this meeting, I got the privilege to ask Arne Duncan where he saw our education system in the United States moving forward. Well, in his answer, he emphasized that we must find better ways to educate our youth that allow them to expand their interest in passions ranging from the arts to the sciences. So when he mentioned that, it made me think back to my time conducting research for the United States Department of Education, where I could see firsthand how these institutions are only worried about revenue and not in truly expanding my generation's minds. So going off of that, I saw it and understood the data that I was collecting for the United States Department of Education, where I could see that the state regulations changed from state to state and from school to school. But one thing remained the same, and that was why I was collecting the data, which was to make sure that students like myself and many others didn't get taken advantage of. So I know there's a lot of thought on this process. And one day, after I got done with work in the United States Senate, I walked over to Capitol Hill, in the Rotunda, where I found one of my favorite paintings, the Declaration of Independence. In this painting, there are many founding fathers. And as I gazed at it, it made me think back to revising my thoughts to see how I could better them in a way that could improve our world. And so randomly the next day, while working on Capitol Hill, I found a quote from one of the gentlemen in the painting, John Adams. And the quote says that there are two educations. One should teach us how to make a living, and the other, how to live. This is the foundation of what we are talking about today. And this is the foundation that is my drive to better the education system for our future generations. So now going back to what Arne Duncan said, we must find better ways to educate our youth. However, I must state that everyone says that the system's broken, but in reality, our system's not broken. It's just outdated for our new dynamic of involving learners. So, when you think about this, you can see that my formula that I'm going to promote today will give the education back to the learners. Allow them to seize the opportunity to not just listen to what one person says that they're required to take, but and rather asking them to think back and how I can implement something in my degree that makes me different. Now, it may be crazy for us to think about, but what if we could pair a program to our current degree audits that everyone knows about, where it allows a student to promote their diversity as an individual, not a generic system, but allows them to be that unique person that we all want to be, that will give them the edge in the future. So one of my friends who's at a university is an engineering student, and she told me that she's going to be in college for 5 years, and that's pretty long, but it goes by really quick. And sadly, she's only going to be able to take engineering courses while she's in college, even though she thinks it would be really cool to take a religious course or a foreign language, to see how diverse the world truly is. But sadly, because of the formula that we have right now, she can't do that. Or even me, as a political science student here at the University of Florida, I am told that I must take political science courses to obtain my degree, which makes sense. But what if I wanted to, take a cool class that I would engage my interests, like an engineering course, for instance, to see the complex structures of life on how to build a bridge, a building, or a road. That down the line in my future, if I have the opportunity to help out our world, to help the structures that are crumbling in the United States, I could think back to what I learned here at the University of Florida by taking something that's completely different. And so if we both had this opportunity, we will be able to become stronger in the job market and better citizens in our society. So this formula that I'm sure you're all wondering about is going to make students submit a statement of purpose to the university after their first semester, where they explore their passions. And in this statement, they are going to say how they are planning to pursue their passions in their holistic education. This will make them think more than just about their major or minor, but really how they can engage in contributing to their field of study. While, don't get me wrong, this is not just a single-way road. The academic advisors that are here on campus have to play a big part in this, where they can truly be advisors to these students by allowing them to have the chance to sit down with a wiser person to see why they feel that this is important to their education, how they can change who they are and be unique in a new way. And so this will allow them that opportunity to negotiate these classes and make up a plan together that they agree on and that they can implement. And through the course of college, they would then complete, right before graduation, they would have their final meeting with this advisor, where they would be able to talk and discuss about their holistic experiences in college that make them unique. And it would help us to change the system and update it for our future generations. But most importantly, in this time, they will pick those specific instances that make those people unique, and that will give them that edge for that future employer. So this goes back to the foundation of One World, where we're all worried about the population size in the year 2050, which will be 9.6 billion people. But for me, more specifically, I'm worried about how are we going to educate all these people to be able to find a job that they can support their kids, themselves, and maybe their grandkids, to promote a well-being for that individual for a lifetime. And so our current leaders are continuing to debate which system is better than the other. And for right now, they say that a vocational education is the way to go over a liberal arts-based education, which is mistakenly wrong. We must make sure that these leaders see that the liberal arts education is very important to all of us as human beings. If we can just study literature, philosophy, music, and the arts, we could become fully human beings and be engaged in not just our communities, but the world. So even though their stances do differ, they are still trying to do some good. I know, right? Politicians doing some good. It's funny. But they are trying to reallocate money by giving the education system $78.9 billion within this year. And that's reallocated money, not to add to our debt. And so they are going to try to use this money to make new schools, daycares, libraries, anything that can help the education process out in the United States. So ultimately, one night, I know that there are many people out here that think that I'm insane and this is not going to work. But for all those people, one night last week, I studied in the Library of Congress, where I found a quote from Albert Einstein saying that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Well, everyone, welcome to our current reality. Now, wouldn't it be crazy for us to not listen to one of the greatest thinkers of all time? Continue doing what we do, knowing what we know about our costs, failures, and limitations? We must update this outdated system. It is our time. It is our responsibility to give back to our future generations so that they have a leg up in whatever the future may hold for them. So please, let's implement this process here at the University of Florida and start this movement by empowering the students. Thank you, everyone. And go Gators.